All right, man. Detroit Pistons trade for Joe Harris. I heard they traded a couple second-round picks. Also, talk about what that means. No Cam Johnson, no big name splash free agent. We already know that in Detroit. That's not going to be the case. And don't nobody want to come here. They wasn't going to be able to get Cam Johnson, but they technically may not be done, but I'll explain all that in this video. Check out Detroit Pistons Talk playlist. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Next subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications, increase your chance. Get notifications, we go live or drop the video. So they traded for Joe Harris. He got 1 year left, $19 million. So, you know, if they just traded a pair of second-round picks, they not matching no salary up. Basically, what they did was allow Brooklyn to dump salary in Detroit to re-sign Cam Johnson. So pretty much that's what that happened. They probably told Detroit, like, we gonna match any offer y'all put out there. Now you better off taking something rather than nothing. Now Joe Smith Jr. had been injured the last couple of years. He played some games last year. He stretched the floor, defensive liability, but he could shoot. But that's your veteran, you know. So, I mean, out of all the guys they could have got, I guess they was like, nah, Jeremy Grant, nah, unless they get somebody on the veteran minimum, or, you know, apparently we already talked about them today, trading Bogdanovic for a first and 2 seconds, and we'll see if that, you know, that could clear up some more cap space. I think he had around $13 million a year, so that can give you enough cap space to get back in the game. But you got the 12.4 mid-level exception, I believe, if I heard correctly. So. But let's talk about Joe Harris. Good floor spacer if he can stay healthy. In a team full of injury-prone guys. Wiseman been injured his whole career. Cade been injured his whole career. Isaiah Stewart was injured last year. I think he might be injured his first year a little bit too. Killian been injured. So you add another injury-prone player. It's the only downside, and he's a defensive liability as well too. So, I mean, he can shoot it. He can stretch the floor. But can he stay healthy is the question. So, you know, if you bring him off, you know, then they might be planning on starting Bogdanovic, you know, if he stick around at the 4, unless they go out there and try to get a sign and trade for PJ Washington, or they try to do match for Miles Bridges or somebody like that. That's the $1 million question. They still got to answer at the 4, but just knowing Detroit, knowing how they think, they gonna play Bogdanovic at the 4. And you know, Troy Weaver was saying at one of them press conferences during the draft, after the draft, that we predicated on defense. Well, Bogdanovic ain't no great defender. Joe Harris ain't no great defender. Putting them, even let's say they are in the same lineup on the bench, I'm fine with that because Sasser could defend. Wiseman is not shabby defensively, and Burks can defend. So. That's not the worst lineup, but Harris gonna bring shooting. I mean, I think he shot almost 43% from 3, and that's why people have some issues about Short Thompson. Not only just because he coming from a new league, overtime elite, but in addition to that, and that's still experimental. You know, we don't know what that is, and most people, when something new and you don't know what it is, you know, humans tend to fear it. But. You know, that's why more people wanted to go with Taylor Hendricks, because his versatility, his ability to play the 4 and the 3, shoot the ball, almost average over a block a game. But they went with Short Thompson, and only time will tell. Where did Hendricks go? Indiana or something, like Utah or somewhere he went. Forget where he went. That was my favorite player down there. But then it was Cam Whitmore. He had the injury, but then I got to Short Thompson. He was 3rd. But so we gonna see. You know, I think that's gonna be a critical moment in the cluster of players that was down there that they picked from Jet Howard to a lot of those guys the Pistons passed up on for Short Thompson. I believe in Short Thompson, but a lot of his potential got to be unlocked by him shooting. So if he can shoot the ball, which a lot of people in the league struggle with shooting the ball and playing without the ball, that's gonna be the question. But in the here and now, you know, could they get away with Joe Harris at the plant starting at the 3? That's gonna be tough, because then you putting a lot of pressure defensively on Duran. You putting a lot of pressure defensively on Cade and Jaden Ivey. And then it's really going to boil down to who you get to play the 4. And if you bold enough to put Bogdanovic at the 4 and Joe Harris at the 3, just don't worry about being a great defensive team. You're just going to have to outscore and outgun people. That's not a lineup that's going to stop a nosebleed at all. That's a lineup that's going to be bound to give up 121.2 points a game. Y'all know I ain't lying. So you cannot put Joe Harris and Bogdanovic in the same lineup. But them getting Joe Harris, it might be a Bogdanovic trade that's on the horizon as well too. You know, but putting them in the starting lineup together is crazy. But now they got to address the forward position. Like I said, they could trade for guys. I mean, they still could trade for people. So with this deal, this kind of lead them with like $7 million in cap around there, $6-7 million in cap. They could move some things around. That's why people was mad they picked up Alec Burks' option, because that took $10 million of potential cap away. So then they could have had $36 million in cap still, or you know, had they traded somebody to match up salaries or a little bit less salary. But for Brooklyn, they wanted to dump cash to bring back Cam Johnson. They probably told him that we willing to go into luxury for him. So, like I said before, it was a long shot. You knew when Houston basically threw all their money at Fred VanVleet that he basically was staying, and you didn't hear anything about Indiana being interested, that they basically was staying put. But now it all turns to, you know, can they trade for a known commodity to help them out? Now, if they're going to start a Short Thompson, I'll give y'all some scenarios real quick. If they're going to start a Short Thompson at the three, then it's even more critical that you find a four that can stretch the floor and defend. You cannot go in there. It's not as bad with a Short Thompson start, especially if he catch up to speed defensively with Bogdanovic at four. But I don't believe you can go into next season with Bogdanovic starting at the four. You got to find somebody that can defend, who can stretch the floor, and that's going to be very interesting. You know, PJ Washington, Miles Bridges, Obi Toppins, Ryu Hachimura. They got the 12.4 mid-level exception. I think that's what it is. So we'll see what they can get there. But if you go in there with Joe Harrison and Bogdanovic, y'all might as well just say hello to another high lottery pick next year. No matter how good they are, they're going to give up too many points. So that's just my opinion. Check out Detroit Pistons Talk playlist. Thumbs up the video. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel. And that subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications. Increase your chance to get notifications. We go live or drop a video. Financially, want to support the channel. Cash App, $ CJ Good 313. Venmo CJ Good 313. PayPal link in the description. Hit the link tree. I mean, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. But, you know, like I said before, just looking at, you know, Joe Harris, he brings some shooting, brings some veteran leadership. If he can stay healthy, that'd be a plus. But basically like a glorified Rodney Magruder. So, I mean, I think he's better than, obviously glorified would indicate that he's better than Rodney Magruder, but it's gonna be interesting. But they gotta find a four that can defend, and that's, you know, stretch the floor. So we'll see what else they can add, but I think that takes them out the Cam Johnson sweepstakes unless they could dump some salary somewhere else. So peace.